Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, the SNP have done something that they don't often do because they don't like doing it. And they are looking to change the law to fall in line with English law. Normally, they like to be different, to have a different approach, a Scottish approach. But in this case, the optics are pretty terrible. There is, or was in England anyway, a loophole wherein sex offenders could just simply change their name and poof, disappear. And this was seen as being problematic. And so England, and under English and Welsh law, changed the law to stop sex offenders doing it. And it is actually now a crime to do that. You are allowed in certain circumstances to change your name, but it has to be approved prior. You have to go to the police, you have to fill in various forms, blah, blah, blah. There's so much involvement. You can do it, but you can't do it for nefarious purposes. You simply can't just do it like that. And Scotland didn't have that. They said at the time, no, there's no need for it in Scotland. We don't do this. We've got better controls in England. Turns out, no, you haven't. And in fact, the problem was way bigger than initially first thought. And so it became apparent that they're going to have to act. And so Justice Secretary Angela Constance has done the quick reverse ferret. She's come out and said, yes, okay, very well, we'll do it, we'll change it, we'll close this loophole. We don't like it. And of course they don't like it, because after all, most of the people abusing kids in Scotland are members of the SNP. One only has to look at all the court cases going on. But close it they will, and they will at last at least do something towards protecting children, which makes a change. Let's take a look. So, SNP Minister considering backing UK law to stop sex offender name changes. Finally, growing up, accepting that not everything that comes out of England is terrible. And accepting that sometimes you have to put politics to one side and care for people, in this case predominantly children. Justice Secretary Angela Constance could recommend Holyrood endorses UK-wide changes. She is minded to, as they say. She's considering closing the loophole which allows sex offenders to legally change names. The SNP politician said the Scottish Government may give Westminster permission to pass the legislation on the devolved issue. Planned UK Government changes to the Criminal Justice Bill include restricting registered sex offenders from changing their names in certain circumstances. As I say, it'll be they will be allowed to change their names, but there's forms to fill in. They've got to present to police. They've got this, that, and the other. But there are times when they won't be able to, depending on the crime. Scotland said, no, don't need that. It obviously now they've agreed that they possibly do. It would also mean that the law is consistent across the whole of Britain, and you don't have any kind of change of law at the Scottish border where you could, for example, be registered as a sex offender in England, go to Scotland, change your name to Scotland, and then come back because you've changed your name legally in Scotland, and then come back into England to live. And it's kind of a backdoor name change kind of thing. So it is sensible in this case. And after all, this is not party political. At the end of the day, this is safety of children predominantly. Fair enough. Anyway, stats show 392 people on the sex offenders register in Scotland had notified police of a name change between April the 22nd and October last year. So you have to wonder how many haven't. The Justice Secretary said the figures referred to instances where details of a registered name had changed, including a new email address or a gym card bearing a name. Therefore, the actual number of individuals under the new name is lower than the reported figures. And I accept that that may well be the case, but the figure, of course, should be nil. Or at the very least, it should be nil without good reason. Put it that way. She added, recent reports have raised concerns that the ability of sex offenders to change their name, whatever the numbers may be. This loophole in the legal system allows dangerous criminals to hide in plain sight, and which we know and we have said for a long time. We know, she said, of instances where it has allowed dangerous sex offenders to change their name and subsequently target new victims who have no way of knowing their new identity. Constance said the government is considering whether to back a procedure allowing UK law changes to apply north of the border. There are many times where there are UK-wide laws, and it is predominantly on matters of safety. For example, the Health and Safety at Work Act is a UK-wide, it's not limited to Scotland. There is no Scottish Health and Safety at Work Act. It's UK-wide. The Equality Act is UK-wide, things like that. So there are UK-wide laws. This, of course, is just simply another one put in place for exactly the same reason. Protection, in this case, of the vulnerable. She said, I'm very actively and seriously considering the UK proposals for legislative change in this area. I should bloody well hope so. This is not something you need to be sitting there and going, oh, we've got to be different from England on, for the sake of saying that. So I will give her a due that she's even thinking about it, which is a remarkable change when you consider the recent history of the SNP. She says, I hope to be in a position to provide a more formal update to Parliament shortly about any requirements for legislative consent motions as a result of what is proposed. It's not a big thing. You know, it's nothing constitutional, is it? It's just one, just don't change your name. It's not big. She says there is a range of amendments, some of which refer to issues in and around the name changes. Sex offenders in Scotland are currently required to notify Police Scotland of a name change within 3 days or risk a prison sentence, and that's very similar to what's currently in England as well. They must notify the authorities, and there are so many forms to fill in, and quite right too. We don't want these people out there changing the name, targeting children in one area, changing the name, targeting children in another area. Nobody knows where it is. Anyone goes and checks the register, oh, he's not on there, isn't he? John Smith's on there, but Dave Smith isn't, things like that. So it's those things, and it is a risk reduction, and that at the end of the day is what it all should be. Stop playing party politics with children, please God. Stop playing party politics at all, but at least take a sensible approach. And finally, I think sense has landed, so fair enough. Anyway, I shall round off there. We shall come up and we shall finish the video. I think this is possibly one of the very, very few times where Constance has done something sensible and right and actually for the people rather than against them. So often the things she proposes are actually against what people want. So she's finally, got something right. I suppose by chance, really, isn't it? Random sheer luck. She's actually managed to get something right. Fair enough. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. By the way, the very next video is one you don't want to miss, and it's all about Sturgeon, it's about WhatsApps, and it's about Leslie Roberts. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, and don't miss the next video. Bye.